Welcome back. We are less than a week away from Tuesday's debt ceiling deadline, and Congress and the White House look no closer to a deal. Well, joining us today via Skype from Washington, D.C. is Congressman Bob Latta to talk more on the subject. Good morning, Congressman.
Good morning. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. All right. Well, first, let's get your opinion on this so-called circus going on in Washington right now.
Well, it's very, very important that we get this matter resolved because we want to make sure we don't rile the international markets out there. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we don't keep spending the way we have been in Washington. This is what's caused this whole disaster that we're in right now. Yeah, over the 4 years when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker and the 2 years of that when Barack Obama, in his first 2 years as president, they put about $5 trillion more into debt on this country, and we just can't afford it. And that's where we've reached this maximum again on the debt ceiling, and we've got to get this matter resolved.
All right. Well, what happens if no decision is made? How will we, the people, Ohioans, how are we going to be impacted?
Well, first and foremost, I think there's been the wrong word being used out there. They're calling it a default. We're not going to default on anything. We will pay our obligations out there. The number one thing is that, whoever we owe money to, we're going to pay it. And so that's the first thing. Now, what's going to happen, though, is since we're spending 43 cents of every dollar, we're borrowing it. And of that money right there, of course, is all these other expenses out there that we're going to have a problem paying. So the number one thing we want to make sure is that we pay our debt, we pay the interest on it, and then after that, it's going to have to be prioritized, especially by the President and the Secretary of the Treasury. So that means Social Security needs to be paid, Medicare, Medicaid type payments need to be paid. We pay the contractors out there on military. There's different scenarios that can be done. But the number one thing is we are not going to default on our debt.
All right. Well, now how does the Treasury decide who's going to get paid first?
Well, and again, that's where the president comes in. There's certain bills here in Congress that members are putting forward, especially he's talking about Social Security, to make sure that, Social Security isn't touched, that those payments are made. But the number one thing is that they would fall on the president.
Okay, well, why is it always down party lines? Why do you think Republicans and Democrats, why can't they come to an agreement here?
We're putting forward what we've got, but the president hasn't put forward. And again, he wants to raise another $1 trillion in taxes on top of the $500 billion from Obamacare. So all he wants to do is keep raising taxes. People back home can't afford that.
All right. Well, now how do you think that the whole disagreement is making Congress look to the public?
It's amplified because we have with 24-hour news today. But the number one issue out there is that we've got to come to an agreement. I think that the Speaker, Harry Reid, over the weekend, they met privately to say, okay, what can we do as a Congress? But there's a lot of posturing, of course. Even like in Ohio, when the current budget came out, that had to be done by July the 1st. It always comes down to the last minute to get these things done, and the pressure has to, unfortunately, mount to a point where people say, okay, we're going to finally sit down and get an agreement done. But again, we cannot have an agreement that increases taxes or pushes or kicks this can down the road because we just can't afford it anymore, because we have got to act now. And it's also important to note that even if we get all this done, we could still have our debt downgraded, because the number one, the Moody's and all the other type credit scoring companies out there are looking at is, will Congress get serious about cutting spending, not increasing spending or keeping spending at the current levels like the president had advocated earlier in the year, but we have to cut spending.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Congressman.
Well, thank you.
We appreciate you taking that time to talk with us. Good luck this week, okay?
I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
First Edition will continue in a moment. Stay with us.